Welcome to another episode of Life's a Vacay podcast, where you're designing life on your own terms, so you're always living on purpose. Welcome to another episode of Life's a Vacay podcast, a weekly podcast series that focuses on living a life without limitations. I'm your host, Cha Jones. I'm a life coach, motivational speaker, intercultural consultant, and now you can add podcaster to the list of things that I'm doing, who has traveled to over 45 states and 25 countries. I love helping people, and I absolutely love to travel. Today, I'm talking about the uncut version. No edits, just do it, with my very special guest, Mr. Cartess Ross. Let's get started.
But I oftentimes feel like people start businesses and they're burnt out because it created a life that they didn't really want. Like a lot of times people create businesses so they can have more freedom, right? So they had a job, you only gave me 2 weeks. Now I'm gonna go create a business and I'm gonna have all this free time. But if you really are in the trenches of creating that business, you don't have all that free time that you think you're gonna have. Because you're creating a business, and what you kill is what you eat. If you don't kill nothing, you eat nothing, right? And so it then becomes a place where you start resenting the business because you don't have the freedom and flexibility that you thought you were creating. And so I kind of want to talk about life being a vacay. It's all those things, all encompassing. It's the struggle to get there, to create the life of vacay. It's the being there, accepting that I have more freedom and flexibility, but it's also understanding that life ebbs and flows. So you don't always stay on this one path where you can have everything all at one time. Because sometimes you're giving up something, sometimes you're accepting something, sometimes you're giving up something. It's the same thing, and it just kind of morphs, and then you start creating life, and life doesn't just stand still to be like, oh, it's perfect.
Exactly.
Because it's not ever.
Never. And it's funny that you said that about, the 9 to 5. It's funny because last night I was thinking, I was watching a movie with my daughter, and I was like, and these 2 ladies were in this warehouse cleaning and working. And then at 5 o'clock, they got off work and went home and enjoyed the rest of their day. And I was like, because I've been working for myself for the last about 24 years. I haven't had a job. And I was like, man, I kind of wish I had a job. You know what I mean? Because you can turn it off at 3 o'clock. It turns off. And particularly now with a lot of remote working becoming normal, like you were saying, if you play it right, you can live abroad, and at 3 o'clock when you get off work, you can live out the rest of your life in a beautiful place, Cancun, Colombia, Thailand, wherever you want to be, and still have the luxury and the benefit. Because like you're saying, being your own boss, you can't, it never turns off, particularly in the beginning stages while you're trying to build, or even when the economy changes or a pandemic comes, things might go down, and now you're having to pivot, make changes, and eat. You don't eat as much as you used to eat when things were going great. So, but yeah, I was like, man, it sure would feel good to have a traditional job, or so I thought in my mind. And that might change if I got the job, but it has its benefits. It certainly does have its benefits.
Well, I'm going to shift it, and I'm going to just do, so normally I pre-record the bio or whatever, and then I kind of start with, I keep thinking I can touch screen just because I can touch this screen. I can't touch that screen. Hold on. So I just I do my...
I have my fan pointing at me and behind the computer. Is it creating any noise?
It's not.
Okay, great.
So I was just like, do my introduction, and then I'm like, and so I'm excited to have today Mr. Cartess Ross, right?
See, correcto.
Okay, all right, let me start over because I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So I'm excited today to have my friend, Mr. Cartess Ross. How are you doing today?
Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I am excited to talk to you today because you the man with the plan. Like you all over Mexico, out here in these streets, these hot streets out here telling all life's business, giving people hope on how to live abroad, make their exit to a new place, telling them all about how, like, okay, you talk about how to find you a house, where to eat, what not to do, how to survive in jail. You do it. I'll be like, what don't he do?
Man, a lot of this stuff just happened. You know what I mean? Like the jail thing, it just happened. I think a lot of this stuff just happens because I'm out there all the time, every day. And the more you're out there, the more you subject yourself to stuff. So stuff just happens.
Well, I want to thank you in advance for joining me today on my first season of Life's a Vacay podcast. It was an idea that I literally came up with a couple of weeks ago and just jumped on it and started to walk in all of who I am. And I think that a lot of people are going to get so much more from me. Those people who have followed me over the last 15 years they're going to finally see like what the struggle has been about. And they're going to be able to hear the story. They're going to be able to find solace in other people's stories and get some clarity on what they want to do. But more important, they're really going to, and this is my hope, is that they'll be able to have a clear understanding. When I say life's a vacay, I'm not saying that life is without challenges. I'm not saying that life is without problems or that you don't have ebbs and flows, because that would be incorrect. When I say life's a vacay, I'm saying that when you are living your life, you are living it in a way that is intentional, that it is basically what you want to do, not based on what other people want to do, but you're living on purpose and you're showing up every day doing what it is that you want to do. And so you don't feel like you're working. But if you are working and you show up to 9 to 5, you still can have a life of vacay, because you can show up to a 9 to 5 that you absolutely love. And you could be one of those people that at 5 o'clock, you still working, you like in the trenches because you really truly love what you do. And you can then create the life that you want. If you want to live in a mini mansion, you can do that. If you want to take yachts on the weekends, you can do that and still have your 9 to 5. But if you want to quit your job, define life on your own terms, go travel abroad, whatever it is you want to do, I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to tell the stories of the people who are your average Joes, who took an idea, who looked at their career, took it to a whole nother level, and can tell the stories of how that actually happened. And you're one of those people who, when I first met you, and it was funny because it was like my first week moving to Merida, Mexico, which is where we are both at. I met you that first weekend, and you actually hadn't even decided you were going to live in Merida. I had decided I was going to live here. And so you had just came from Colombia, and you were funny as hell. So, you were just very transparent, and I love real people because I'm real, right? Yeah. And so you were telling us about some of the things you had done, like you were making serious money on the internet. And I was like, this is a real person who is telling me all the stuff that they've done. And I'm just like, when did you have time to do all this? But one of the things I have learned over this almost a year that I've known you is that you're very transparent. You don't have no problems telling the story. You are an amazing storyteller. And you just put it out there, raw, it's not edited. It is what it is, right? And so how do you do that?
Ooh, wow. Well, I don't know. I just believe that everybody is dealing with something. And, you know, people tend to share only the good stuff. You know, you look at Facebook, you see all you see is the pictures of all the fancy stuff and the wonderful things and the wonderful life. And, you know, sometimes people that are going through stuff can get real depressed looking at that because they just think everybody else's life is so perfect and theirs is just messed up. So, you know, over time, I just started to get more comfortable and just like, you know, hey, I'm just going to share. You know, there was a point when I made a lot of money online, but then I've gone through some phases of depression. And now I'm basically like many people starting over, trying to rebuild income. I don't make nearly what I used to make. You know what I mean? I just think when you share the real, it makes you more authentic and people start to connect with that because a lot of people are dealing with stuff. And that's my main goal really is just to connect with people and just let them know that, hey, whatever you're going through, you know, it gets better. You're not going to always be there. You know, just be honest with yourself and the rest will take care of itself. So I don't know. Now it causes a lot of problems between me and my wife because she hates it when I'm transparent. I mean, she gets angry. I mean, real angry. And, you know, but for me, again, I believe it helps more people just by being open because, you know, we're all connected. And if I just feel that if what I say can help somebody get through a tough time, you know, then, you know, all great. Because right now we're dealing with my daughter who's sick currently. And the more I share that, I get a lot of information from other people whose children are also dealing with the same stuff. They're sending me resources and tools that I can find that could help her. Had I kept it to myself, I wouldn't have known about a lot of this stuff. So that's just my thought process on it, I guess. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's interesting because a lot of times, and I've talked to women who are trying to be in this space of being a social media content creator or whatever. And they want it to be pretty. That's the first thing. They're like, well, you know, and then they spend a lot of time, myself included. And when I look back on my journey, I spent a lot of time trying to make it look a certain way and to be pretty and to appeal. And I think for women, oftentimes it is about being able to appeal to the eye, right? Yeah. But I think oftentimes when I see men who are accomplished or who tell the raw story and they just jump out there and they just do it. Mm-hmm. Number one, is very transparent. Number two, they're not waiting for something. And so women get stuck in a rut because they're waiting for it to be a certain way. And then you end up talking yourself out or time just lapse and then nothing happens. Whereas you just do it. Like you're walking down the street, you got all this footage of the raw. It ain't pretty sometimes. It's hot, you be sweating, and you'll even say, I'm hot. So I think there's a place for that. And I think oftentimes people who want to have something, you know, like for the person who's sitting and they have a 9-to-5, they don't like it. They are ready to do something different in their head, right? Because all of this is still in their head because they haven't taken action. But for you who just, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think about, I'm just going to do it. There's something to be said because you're in action and you have to take inspired action. I even think about people who are like, because you know, I have a book on manifestation and I had somebody ask me, well, you know, how did you manifest such and such? And I was like, I thought about it. I saw myself having it and and then I moved towards that. But people try to exclude the move towards, right?
Yeah.
And you do that well. How did you, I don't know, do you learn that, or do you just be like, I don't care and I'm gonna just do whatever I do?
Yeah, well, I think I will say I learned a lot of it from other mentors and coaches that I had. And once I started taking action, because action is everything. I'm working with a guy now who just, a lot of people have, again, it has to be right. It has to be perfect. And, again, I just believe fundamentally that you just got to move. And even if you're going in the wrong direction, at least by taking the steps, you can at least correct course and turn around and go in the right direction. But until you move, nothing happens. Particularly like when I'm out in the streets making videos and editing and stuff. For me, my mindset is, okay, if I make this super pretty and do all of this editing, it becomes extra work, becomes a lot of work, and I won't do it. I'd rather have the content out there where it's not as pretty, and I can create more of it because I'm not spending hours trying to clean it up. And so if I can just shoot and walk and talk about what's happening raw, I can put more of it out there more often. There are some days where I can put out 2 videos a day or 3 videos a day because I'm not worried about how it looks. And ironically, I find that people tend to resonate with that content more than the cleaned up versions. Now, also because of my background in internet marketing, over the years, I used to manage stuff, marketing for other businesses, as well as my own stuff. So I've gotten a chance to see firsthand what works. And I generally found that the unedited, raw stuff tend to convert better than the high-end, clean, Hollywood style stuff. And so as a result of that, just from that background, I've just learned that, good enough really is good enough. The action is the most important thing by far.
Definitely. And I was reading a book one time, and I think by Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote the book Eat, Love, Pray. And on her next book after that, she talks about good is better than done. Done is better than good. Yeah. And I always try to go back to that. Now I am a woman. I do like pretty. And I have in the past really got stuck in trying to create something, because sometimes you don't even know how to do something. Yeah. And then you start talking yourself out of doing it if you create more work for yourself. For instance, with this podcast, if I sat here and was like, I don't know anything about podcasting. Okay. And back in the day, this is funny because I just thought about this the other day. I literally had started back in the day was blog, what was it called?
Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio. There you go. Dang, that's back in the day. That was
I remember
almost pre-Facebook, MySpace time. Blog Talk Radio. So I had a segment on there, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I just did it, right? But it didn't turn anything into anything because number one, I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't consistent, which is also important. People have to be consistent, and that's another thing that you do well, is that you show up consistently every day with content. And for me, I know my consistency has not always been the best, because I'm all over the place in the head sometimes. And so now I find that, just putting this together and getting out my own way and not worrying about what it looks like I didn't spend a whole time on my logo. I went to create the logo, and I just put it out there, and I put the whole website together and just kept it moving, sent out my content letter, and then let it fall. And then I don't even really do a lot of editing on this. Whatever we talk about, that's how it's going out. And all of that is part of who it is. So like, I think that's important, especially when you're talking about like getting to the point where you are going to do something and you really believe in it, you're passionate about it. You have to eliminate those things that are going to be hindrances or the roadblocks, because if you start thinking about all of the things that you don't know how to do, all of the things that you feel like you're not equipped to do, you'll talk yourself out of it versus just do what you can do, right? And then the other pieces will show up. So I'm not the greatest editor. However, I found something that allowed me to click and point and I can edit. And so, and I didn't even go looking for it. It just showed up. So talk to us about the ability to just put stuff out there constantly, because that's one of the things I know in the past has been like a downfall for myself. And I see that with a lot of other people, is that they have this great idea, it's a bright idea, they move for it, or move towards it at first, and then eventually it kind of like goes to the wayside. How do you continue to create content, continue to be consistent in this space and show up every day?
Well, I think sometimes we got to get out of our own head. I mean, really, we are our own worst enemy. I often make the comment, we're fighting the enemy within. We got to beat that guy or that woman on the inside. And one thing that I learned when I was in Colombia, because again, I'm one of those guys who used to overthink stuff. One day I had my phone with me and I was going down to the grocery store. At this point, I was probably only putting out content like once every 2 weeks. But this day I had my phone. I said, I'm going to the grocery store. And I was like, you know what? I'll just record myself walking to the grocery store and just show my surroundings. This was in Medellin. And I walked to the grocery store, showed the buildings, showed the grocery store. When I got to the grocery store, showed the bakery. And that ended up being the most watched video on my channel. And in that moment, I realized that on a normal day, I never would have made that video. I would have thought that it was too simple. I would have thought that nobody would be interested in this stuff. And so in that moment, I realized no matter what I think about a piece of content, whatever I'm doing in that moment, I will create it. I will show it. I will record it. No more thinking, Mr. Ross. If you're going somewhere, just run the damn camera. If you're going to the dentist, run the camera. If you're going to get some cookies, run the camera. If you're going to the store around the corner to, I don't know, get whatever, run the camera. Let the people decide what they like. Don't you try and figure it out for them. You don't know what they're looking for. You don't know what they're researching. If it pops in your head, go with it. So that's my philosophy. I don't think, I don't question it. Because even here, some of the videos that I put out, I never would have thought anything about it. But it's the ones you least likely think are the ones that generally do well. And the ones you think would do well are the ones that generally tank. So I've learned, again, over the last 20 years, you cannot figure it out. Just put it out there and let the marketplace determine what they decide the piece of content is most valuable to them. And it's funny because, and again, this is just from history and experience, there might be some videos that I put out and it might have the least number of views, but that one particular video might be the video that the guy calls and say, hey, I'm ready to pay you $10,000 to do a website. But it was the least viewed video, but that piece of content was what he needed to make a transaction go through. So again, just put it out. Don't overthink it, don't second guess it. If it pops up in your mind, if you're doing it, record it. That's your content.
Yeah, that's important. And you don't know what other people like. You don't know what other people are gravitating to. I just did a podcast the other day with one of my childhood friends who always wanted to be in the NBA, and we know the statistics on that. So he obviously didn't go to the NBA, but he is now getting paid by the NBA and created content around players, and the NBA picked him up for some content that he created last year, and he got to be at the drafts. And so it's amazing because he talked about how in that in putting out his podcast that he had wanted to do for years, and just moving towards that and putting out stuff, he was like, people started contacting him on stuff that he didn't even put that much energy into. And so I think it's important to get out your own way. And I'm talking to myself when I say that, because when I think about the things I have done that I didn't think about and I just did it in the moment, it worked out so much better and you could go plan and try to create something. You want it to look a certain way, you want it to feel a certain way. That's all for you. But the people who are showing up, who like you and want to listen to you, they're listening to you because you are you. Authenticity sells way more than the pre-packaged design version of you. I even think about women. I was on Facebook one day and someone asked men, what is it that attracts you, or what do you think is unattractive about a woman? And it was 50,000. I can't stand these eyelashes. However, I see all these women who go get these butterfly eyelashes, and I'm thinking, you wear makeup, or me, the woman, I wear makeup because it enhances beauty, right? Yeah. And then you want to enhance beauty to do what? Attract somebody. So if you're attracting someone, you want to do something that's going to be attractive to that person. But why would you put these big, hairy, butterfly-like eyelashes on if that's not doing what the intention is for, right? You want to attract someone. And so it goes back to when you're doing business or creating content or putting something out there for other people to view, you have to meet people where they are and do what they need. And if you're getting more likes and more, I appreciate that the comments are coming through based off of just the raw, then you got to go to the raw. So for those people who are listening, who are starting businesses or want to be in a certain influence space, then really think about that and get out of your head. Start walking in the direction that you want to walk in so that you can do the things that you want to do, and don't be scared. Let's talk about the don't be scared part though, because for a lot of people, fear has kept them in jobs that don't serve them anymore, in relationships that don't serve them, or doing things that is really sabotaging the outcome that they really want to have. So how are you showing up fearless? Because I think you show up very fearless. For instance, for those people who don't know, who are new to my podcast, as well as to the whole Merida experience, because I'm in Merida, he's in Merida, he went to jail. He went to jail a few months back. And it was like really, really interesting. But I mean, I was actually supposed to have a meeting with you that day, and then you didn't show up. And I was like, yo, he ghosted me. What the hell? Like, and I'm calling you, blowing you up. And then the person I was supposed to meet with after was the person you called before you went to jail. So I happened to say something, and I put two and two together and realized, wait a minute. I said, are you talking about Cartess? And he was like, he didn't want to say because he was just like trying to talk without releasing information. And so I realized, okay, he just went to jail. What? I said, okay, so I don't feel so bad he didn't ghost me. But even with that, you're telling the story and you seem to be very fearless. How do you become fearless, or how do you just walk through something even though you're scared or feel like it won't work, or you have all these naysayers in your head saying it can't work?
Yeah, well, I do be scared. I'll go ahead and put that.
Okay, so he is a real person, y'all.
I do be scared for real. I really do. But I've learned, but again, a lot of this stuff come from coaches and mentors that I've had in the past, that forced me to look back on things. And what I found was that even in the bad stuff, the good stuff and the bad, somehow things always work out for my better, for my good, for the great. And so, even going to jail is working in my favor. Getting sick is working in my favor. I just fundamentally believe that at the core, that all things are working for my good. So, and I've learned again that as I start stuff, businesses, many things I've started didn't work, but it put me on a path to something that ended up being greater or better or just as good as. But it all still comes back to nothing happens if I don't take action. So I'm more scared of not taking the action than the alternative. So again, I just learned that doing the thing will put me in the right place. And so for those people that are thinking about starting a business and thinking it won't work, you just got to start. Like your friend with the NBA, he didn't get in the NBA, but now the NBA is reaching out to him. And it never would have happened if he didn't at least move or start doing something or putting out content as it relates to working with the people in the NBA. I don't know if this story will help any, but one time, at a point in my life, I used to be, an ADD is both a blessing and a curse. And I think that helps me a lot too, because I do stuff, I never really finish it, but it puts me into a lot of different things. But anyhow, I used to buy antique chairs from the 50s and 60s, mid-century, benches, stools, and chairs at auctions, antique auctions. So I buy this stuff low and then turn around and resell it. So I might buy a chair for $500, sell it for $2,500. I would create content about that. I would create content about the stuff I found at auctions. I would talk about these chairs, talk about the value of it, talk about who buys it. And then I got, over time, as I put that content out, a TV show reached out to me. They were coming up with this new show following antique dealers around as they go to auctions. And they wanted to cast me as the lead. So I went through the interview process. Some other, I can't remember the term that they used, but man, it went on for 3 months and it got to a point where they actually wanted me. But then I got scared. I stopped returning their phone calls. I went into hiding, and then months later, they just gave up. I talked myself out of it. I didn't think I was good enough. I was scared. I was like, why would these people listen to me? I'm just a regular guy, just buying chairs and selling it, and did very well with it. But I got in my own head and messed that opportunity up. There was a point to this story. I don't forget slightly what that point was, but here's the point. I got discovered due to putting the content out there, just sharing the stuff that I was passionate about. I wasn't even trying to make money from those videos. I was just passionate about this topic: chairs, benches, and stools. I would buy these chairs, I would buy these stools and benches, and I would just sit on them for hours, reading my books, just because I love the damn chair. You know what I'm saying? So again, you just got to do the thing. Once you figure out that this thing is something that you like, it's this thing is something that you enjoy, regardless of how scared you are, how stupid you think it might make you look, you just got to put it out there. You just got to get out there and do the thing. Just take the first step in the fear. And again, trust that the doors will open, and they will.
Yeah, they often do. I think, and I go by and I say this on every podcast, is that fear is false evidence appearing real. We create a lot of the fear in our head, telling ourselves it won't happen, it can't happen. You like had the whole golden egg drop in your lap, and you like, oh, I can't accept it, and you let it go. Who's out here doing this, man? But I think, you know, I think we often, everybody, you have opportunities, and if you're not ready, then you allow that opportunity to slide through the cracks. Someone told me when I was doing a documentary several years ago, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
And when you're ready, then even when the fear comes up, you'll walk through it. Because you're ready and you prepared yourself, and you like, you know what, I'm gonna let that slide because I'm gonna do it anyways. And if something happens and it goes awry, I'm gonna keep it moving, right? And I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna figure out what's next, because I know that it's better than where I am, right?
Exactly.
And I say this to a lot of people: when you're hungry, then you just want to eat, right? So you don't worry about, I can't catch it, right? I can't go out here and catch the food. I can't go out here and, do whatever is necessary so that I can eat. You just want to eat. And so when you're hungry in business, if you're hungry in a career, if you're hungry, you go out and you do the things that may be fearful, but you do it anyways, because the result, eating, is better than starving, right?
Exactly.
And you just do it. So in creating this life that you currently have, where you're living in Mexico, and you now have your family here, because when you first showed up, it was you solo dolo, trying to like, I'm gonna conquer these streets by myself. And then life changed. And you then, and I don't even know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know that you had a plan for the current business that you're in, because you came here and you really wasn't certain that you were going to stay here. And then you just started videoing and talking about the place. And then you went home and you came back, and then your children showed up for the summer. It was only supposed to be the summer. And then your wife showed up. So with all of that, how has what you're currently doing created freedom for you?
Well, you're right. I didn't have a plan on what I was going to do with the current model that I have now, Move Abroad and Thrive. While I was in Colombia, and again, like you mentioned earlier, I had no plans to come to Mexico. I was in Colombia looking for a place to live when they had riots break out and the pandemic was going strong. And so everything was closed down. So with the riots getting violent, I decided to leave there until things cooled off. And so I came here and ended up falling in love with the place. So while in Colombia, I would make videos as I was walking out and about. I knew in that time, I didn't have a name, a business name, or a company name, or an idea of a name, but I knew in my mind that something would formulate out of this. So I would just record everything I was doing in Colombia. And then when I got here, I just continued to do the same thing. There was no model. I just recorded, just sharing, just letting people see what I saw. That, hey, there's an opportunity here. For me, again, I'm rebuilding my business, rebuilding my finances. And one of the ways I wanted to rebuild my finances was cut my costs, cut my expenses. So that's why Colombia appealed to me. And then when I got here, realized the same options were available here in Mexico. So again, I just wanted to share that story. Hey, I fudged up my income. I fudged up my retirement. I have no savings. If this is you, this place might be an option. And so that's what I did. The kids came down for the summer. They were supposed to go back, stay with their mom after the summer. We were separated at the time. Didn't know how that was going to play out. Even when I left the United States, I did not know in my mind how it would play out. But I did make the conscious decision that I would leave and trust that things will work out in itself. And so, like you said, months later, they all arrived and they're all here. So the current business model, again, is just really just sharing with other people that you can get a second chance. You can get your finances in order. You can cut your cost of living. You can afford, if it's difficult to live in the States or wherever you're living, you can cut your costs and move here. If you need to play catch up on retirement, you can do that here. If you're trying to start a business, it's cheaper to do it here. If you need to hire people, it's cheaper to do it here. So that's, in a sense, that's just the business model, really. Just kind of going along with it, throwing darts at the wall, see what stick. Most of them fell off the wall, but the few that stuck, I started to build a model around it, just focusing more on it. And that's another beauty, is if you just put stuff out there, you get a chance to see what's working and what's not working. I call that data or analytics. You can now study the analytics when you have stuff out there and determine what's working, what you can do more of, and what you should do less of. And so that's what I've been doing with this. This thing is constantly evolving. A lady just hired me today. She's in the United States still, just hired me today to find apartments for her. She'll be coming down here soon, and she wants a list of apartments that she can go look at. So paid me quite well. And so again, this model is constantly evolving based on the feedback that I get from people.
That's what's up. I need to be in that business now. I want to know. No, that's important. I think just being willing, being open, being flexible to what comes, that really lends the freedom to do what it is that you want to do. And oftentimes we get stuck in our head, then we get stuck in, I don't know this, or all the little things that are playing in your head that's telling you can't do it, why it won't work. That actually removes the ability to have freedom, because you start stifling yourself.
Yeah.
So it's important that you get out of your head and you move forward, and you've done a great job of that. And you have created a whole new lane for yourself out here in these Merida hot streets. So I'm always happy to see what you're doing. I can always, and even though I haven't talked to you in a minute because of jail and health issues, and then your daughter and you dealing with her, and I'll have to have you back so that we can talk about some of those things, because out of those challenges, I think you'll be able to create more content and different stories and be able to help more people. But what you have done has been amazing, just in this little bit of time, and just being able to tell your story and be very transparent. I can keep up with you because you're always on the move. But if I had to ask you, what does life of Vacay mean to you? What does that mean?
Wow. Life at the Vacay, it's Vacay. People work so hard and they miss out on living. And, I see that as being that you can still do what's necessary. You can still take care of the responsibilities that you have, but you still need to carve out time to do those things that bring you joy and enjoyment. And that's something that I'm trying to do even with my children, letting them know every day, don't just do something because you have to do it. Don't just work because you have to work. Find that work that inspires you and bring you passion. Find that thing that you truly love. I watched my dad. He was in the military for 20 years and started teaching and then became a principal of a school. And he was constantly working nonstop. Hated his job with a passion. I mean, he just hated it. Would sit in the car in the parking lot for an hour from anxiety, just didn't want to get out the car to go into the building. And he's 63 years old and he died from pancreatic cancer. And I watched him the last 4 months of his life. I was there with him every day, me and my mom taking care of him, and just watched him just die. And, the thing that he said on his deathbed was like, Carl, that's my nickname, don't be like me. I promised your mother that we would go on vacations when I retired. We would travel. We would do this. We would do that. And he was like, look at me. He said, man, I'll be gone in a couple of days. And we didn't get a chance to do none of that. He said, I need you to live your life right now. If you're not happy doing the thing that you're doing, do it now. Go find that thing. Money ain't everything. And, so I took that to heart. So life is vacay, man. You got to enjoy it. You got to do that thing that you're passionate about, that thing that you love. And for me, I generally believe that people can earn an income or revenue doing those things that they love. It may take time to build it, but I think it's possible.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Give my listeners 3 nuggets that help you encourage and create the life of your dreams.
I think just do it, even if it don't make any sense. That's one thing my wife and I used to go back and forth over. She was like, that don't make sense. I'm like, hey, it doesn't have to make sense to you. It makes sense to me. So just do it, regardless of what other people think. You're going to have your naysayers regardless. You're going to have those who think you're crazy. People are too busy living their own lives and they got their own problems. And oftentimes they're not even really paying any attention to you. But so just do the thing. The other thing I would say, and don't take life so seriously. Life is short. You know what I mean? I think we take things too serious and put a lot of value and weight on stuff. So just go with the flow. And the other thing I would say, just don't take things personally. Sometimes we don't know what the other person is dealing with. If they snap off or they don't call you back or if they don't respond, we don't know what they're dealing with in the moment. So just don't take things personally. Just go with it.
That's what's up. Those are all very good things for you to be doing and to allow to be part of your journey, because out here you don't really know what people are going through. You don't know what opportunities you can have if you shut yourself off to things. And so it's important to just be open to show up. And so I want to thank you for showing up today. I want to thank you for answering my call and booking some time with me, because I know you busy out here in these streets. But how can my listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find us online, www.moveabroadandthrive.com. I'm currently building a brand new website to work with startups. So that site is currently being built, but the site name is www.lead, SLAYER.com, leadslayer.com. Basically, we help people generate leads and get them prospects and clients and stuff like that. So kind of going back to my first love. And so that's how you can find us, leadslayer.com and or moveabroadandthrive.com.
That's what's up. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Again, if you like this podcast, please like and share it. Send it out to other people. Let everybody know where you found it. This is Life's a Vacay. Remember that your life can't be anything unless you actually do something. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do, but you do have to move in the direction that you want to go in. All right, y'all. Hit me next week.
Peace. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right.
You have been listening to Life's a Vacay podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Every day you have a choice, so choose yourself and never allow your circumstances to dictate the life you live. Whatever you don't like, you can change. Remember, nothing happens overnight, but know that when you set goals and take inspired action, whatever you desire can come in perfect timing. Never give up on creating the life you deserve. Don't anticipate your next vacation when you could be living a whole life on vacation. Until next time, I'm your host, Cha Jones. Please remember to like and share this podcast so that others can be inspired. Peace.